Question: what is the longest possible game of chess? If we consider the rules in place today, then there is a set finite amount of moves that can be played in a game of chess before it's considered a draw by default. So how many moves would this hypothetical game be? And how long would it take if it were to actually happen in real life? In terms of professional play, there was no game that went on longer than Stepak versus Mashian, which lasted for 193 moves, 24 hours, and 30 minutes. The longest decisive game was between Fressinet and Kosteniuk, which lasted for 237 moves and was won by Black. On February 17, 1989, Nikolic and Goran Arsovic played a tournament game which would famously be known as the longest game in chess history. Well, at least in terms of moves, because the game lasted for 269 moves and over 20 hours of play. But what if we ignored professional play and looked into amateur games? Well, the longest game I could find on chess.com was by this guy. Now, there's no full record of the game because he claims that the website caps at 500 recorded moves. Yes, you heard me right. This absolute beast of a man played a game that went on for over 500 moves, playing for, are you ready for this? Between 600 and 800 moves. I gotta say, what an absolute beast that will be remembered as a legendary figure in the chess community. He lost. Well, nonetheless, he still holds this record. But what if we took it to another level? What if we threw practicality out the window and simply calculated all the possible moves available that would lead to a truly immortal game? Now, as the saying goes, you shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. So I looked up what others have already calculated. Because this is the internet. If you think of something, chances are so did a million others. Sure enough, I found this article that calculated the longest possible game of chess. It took into account obvious variables such as the 50-move rule and threefold repetition. But what they used instead was the 75 rule, because the 50-move rule has to be claimed by one of the players, while the 75-move rule is automatic by any standard of the game. Now, while this does yield more outcomes, it would also only work on the board. It won't work with most chess websites that have the 50-move rule automatically on. So while technically it's probably the most correct answer to this question, I still want to calculate something that even you guys can do in your spare time. I'm joking. Please don't do this in your spare time. But, in case you'd want to, I'll also calculate the amount of time spent on the entire game, in case you were crazy enough to test this theory out. So, let's get started. In this article, they first calculated how many possible delay moves there are. Now, think about this for a second. The 50-move rule is only reset when there is a pawn move or a capture of a piece. These are what we call delay moves, meaning through captures there are at most only 30 delay moves, because there are 32 pieces and kings cannot be captured. Then there's the pawn moves, which can move 6 spaces until promotion. 16 pawns multiplied by 6 spaces gives us 96 delay moves. However, for the pawns to completely get to the 6 moves, half will have to move diagonally via captures, meaning we went from 126 delay moves down to 118 delay moves, because they capture 8 pieces. But when they capture, they also move up 1 square, taking us down from 118 to 110 delay moves. In the article, they didn't take into account the fact that pawns have to move up a square when capturing, but I myself may be overlooking something. If I am, comment down below. The last thing we need to worry about is the fact that black and white need to be able to switch on whoever has the control of making the delay move, since black can't be the only one making delay moves, since white also has pawn moves that can move up the board. So we can switch control 3 times, making half a move each time to switch control. The final formula comes out to this. Now, you may be wondering why there's an extra 49 moves in the calculation, and this is actually due to the fact that you can move 49 times without capturing or even moving a pawn when starting the game. I tried this and it actually checked out. So what do we get after using this formula? Approximately 5,547 and a half moves. This is the longest game of online chess that can ever be possible. But if we use the 75 move rule instead of the 50 move rule, then we get an absolutely astonishing number of 8,332 and a half moves. But how long would playing this game take? Well, if we use the 193 move game of Stepak and Mashian, which took over 24 hours, the longest possible chess game, with the 50 move rule would go on for 704 hours, 12 minutes, and 36 seconds, which is about 29 days, 8 hours, 12 minutes, and 36 seconds of non-stop playing, just shy of a month of play. Now, if we use the 75 move rule, we get 1,057 hours, 45 minutes, and 9.32 seconds of play, or 44 days, 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 9.32 seconds of non-stop play. So, is this actually the longest possible game of chess? Well, in the immortal words of Neiman,
how would you summarize it? Chess speaks for itself.